So when it comes to triangles, there's just, again, one more term here I want you to learn, because this is one they may ask you without any further explanation, and if you didn't remember this, you wouldn't be able to answer it correctly. That an isosceles triangle has two equal sides. And here's where we get to start adding in good old logic. That's why I loved doing proofs so much in geometry, because it wasn't really math anymore. It was doing, logic. Regardless of whether it's a right triangle or not, an isosceles triangle has two sides that are equal. Well, so a corollary we get from that, I try not to overload you with any unnecessary terminology, sorry. The bigger the angle, the longer the side, smaller the angle, the shorter the side. Then, oops, right in the middle, if the two sides are equal, then by definition, their angles opposite them will also be equal. Well, that's really convenient. That's a good thing to know. And let's take this one step further now. If we take a special case of an isosceles right triangle, what will be the three angle measurements in an isosceles right triangle? If you could write that in the chat box there. Okay, let's take a couple things here. Walk through this step of logic, even though this one's really easy. If it's a right triangle, we know that one angle is equal to 90. If we know it's an isosceles right triangle, then one angle is equal to 90. The other two angles are equal to each other. Then let's take a step outside of sort of that track of reasoning. Well, we know that every triangle has 180 degrees. Subtract the 90 because it's a right angle. It's a right triangle. We have 90 left to divide between the other sides. And since they're equal, and there are only two of them, then they will each be 45. So I don't want to sound pedantic there, but that's kind of the many steps that we don't even notice that we're making in our logic to arrive at 90 and 45, 45, 90. But an isosceles triangle, this is a term you need to memorize, because they'll just say, well, in an isosceles triangle with, two sides of 5, what's the other one? Or an isosceles triangle, whatever, yada, yada, yada. They may not give you any additional information. And if you didn't remember the definition of isosceles, you wouldn't be able to answer the question with certainty. Any one of these other ones, they'll give you enough information and you won't need to have these terms memorized. But isosceles in particular, you do. So that's